Hello and welcome. The Russian Defense Minister Shoigu has said in phone calls with Western colleagues that Ukraine is preparing the use of a so-called dirty bomb. In this video, I'm going to explain to you what a dirty bomb is, whether there's actually some military sense in using it, and how likely the use by Ukraine in this war is going to be. A dirty bomb is a bomb that is more or less meant to poison a certain area. It is a conventional warhead, conventional explosives that are meant to spread nuclear radioactive material as far as possible and as wide as possible. And the effect of the bomb is going to be that the majority of the isotopes that are radioactive are going to be toxic, so being basically poisonous. And of course that they are by falling apart, that they're going to emit radiation that can cause radiation sickness, cancer and death. In general, it is mostly a psychological weapon with a very limited actual effect, especially as it's directly correlating with the amount of explosives and the amount of radioactive material. So the bigger the bomb is, the bigger the effect is. There is no shortcut. If you take a lot of radioactive material with a small warhead, it's going to only poison a certain small area. If you take a lot of explosives with a small amount of radioactive material, you're going to spread it around really wide, but the effect will be fairly small as it's so diluted that its effect is going to be fairly small. So to take an effect of a dirty bomb, it has to be massive. Has to be really big in both explosives as well as in radioactive material. Other than that, it's mostly causing fear, as radioactive material can't be seen, as the direct damage to buildings, etc. is more or less invisible outside of the direct blast radius of the conventional warhead. And of course, as radiation is causing fear, as it can't be seen. Militarily speaking, the usage of a dirty bomb doesn't make any sense. As there is no real immediate effect among troops. It can cause radiation sickness, but that can take weeks or even months or even years for it to have some effect. After the accusations, Ukraine has asked the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Organization, to surveil its, to check on its nuclear installations, as Ukraine is being surveilled in it, and the amount of radioactive material is well catalogued, and it can't simply disappear without someone taking notice. So Ukraine is basically showing and trying to prove to the world that it's not even capable of creating a nuclear bomb. Basically, since the beginning, we hear Russian accusations of the immediate or soon to come usage of weapons of mass destruction by Ukraine. Before the beginning of the war, Putin himself accused Ukraine of preparing an attack with nuclear weapons on the Russian Federation. In April, the Russian Ministry of Defense said the US is helping Ukraine in preparing a false flag attack to accuse the Russians of using NBC weapons, so nuclear, biological or chemical weapons, or in other words, weapons of mass destruction. According to its own doctrine, Russia could already use nuclear weapons, as the fighting is well within territory that Russia considers its own territory, as it has annexed 5 of Ukraine's provinces, and the fighting is ongoing in those provinces itself. So Russia would not necessarily need a reason to use nuclear weapons, which means that a false flag attack in this regard doesn't make too much sense, as it doesn't need a justification. Its international backers, or the nations internationally neutral towards Russia, would not be convinced by a supposed use of a dirty weapon within Ukraine. And the full effect of the use of nuclear weapons by Russia would be no matter what accusation it slings at Ukraine first. So a false flag attack by Russia doesn't make much sense. It isn't even really needed for the Russian side. So in this regard, the most likely reason for those accusations is that Russia that this is another attempt to undermine the Western support of Ukraine, as Ukraine is once again being accused of being irresponsible and being a danger to everyone else, not just itself, not just Russia, but also Western Europe as well. And the more convincing it would be, the more likely it would be that forces that are against the support of Ukraine would prevail and have bigger influence, and thus would force Ukraine to a fast ceasefire or even a peace treaty to end the war and end this risk. Russia is still propagating these accusations. The head of the general staff within Russia, Gerasimov, has repeated the accusations in phone calls with his colleagues in the UK and in the United States. But the best part is what Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov said. He's the head of the NBC protection units of the Russian Federations. He says Ukraine is preparing a dirty bomb attack to accuse Russia of using tactical nukes in the international context. This doesn't make any sense at all. As I said, the amount of nuclear material is essential for a dirty bomb, and to have the same effect, to have the same detonation as a small tactical weapons, we would talk about hundreds, if not thousands, of tons of TNT that have to be blown up to equalize the amount of detonation that is being caused by a tactical nuke. The only thing that could be some connection where this accusation could lead to something is that then after such a detonation there would be isotopes, radioactivity being surveilled with the according stations around the world. But then again, it highly depends on the amount of explosives to even create a radioactive cloud big enough to leave the battlefield itself. And there are obviously satellites that would see that the detonation that was the supposed nuclear weapon, tactical nuke by Russia, was far too small to be anything like that. So this whole accusation doesn't make any sense whatsoever from beginning to end, but this is the way Russia is explaining it to us now, which should be proof enough to say that the accusation don't make any sense, and any Ukrainian usage of a dirty bomb can be outright excluded, is impossible as of now. Whether Russia is going to commit one is less certain, but it seems highly unlikely, as Russia has very little to gain for it, and it doesn't really need any further reason to use tactical nukes if it decides it actually wants to. This so-called retaliation then after a dirty bomb would not convince anyone who counts in the international context, so using a dirty bomb would be more or less useless. This is the situation right now. So while it is always a slight possibility that something might be happening there, it seems highly unlikely that we are facing the usage of a dirty bomb within the Ukraine-Russia war as of now. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did so, this channel is only possible because of the support of viewers like you. You can support the channel by the means in the description. Thank you very much to everyone already supporting the channel. Other than that, obviously, if you want to support the channel, you can hit the like button. Tell us, have a discussion with us what you think. Is Russia actually going to use nukes in the end? Any discussion in this should be highly interesting, and your comments are really appreciated in this. And obviously, if you haven't subscribed yet, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell button so you don't miss future videos, and recommend the channel to your friends and acquaintances to help it grow. That was it for me for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back.